We're back in session. We have a motion. Can you hear me, Mike?
Beautiful.
I'm trying. So we have a motion and an amendment, and I think those have been printed out for everyone because it has been a couple of days. I don't think I have one, but the amendment that we'll be voting on and for discussion is the motion, the amendment by Andrew Dennison, second by Paul Pinckney, to amend the motion to charge the district attorney to come back with a budget that would work within the amount of the CARP grant. Is there any more discussion on this? Mr. Farrell?
Mr. Chairman, we're discussing Mr. Blumen's.
No, we're discussing the motion from Monday night. And right now, the amendment, which was to ask the district attorney to come back with a budget that would work within the amount of the grant.
So I guess for procedural, we are going to approve that one and then move on to this one.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I haven't seen it, but I think you've done it.
Yes. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes. Okay, now we're ready to vote on the motion, which unless you want it read?
Yeah, you better read it.
Please.
Okay, you want the
This
whole
is
thing
what,
read?
Unclear.
I know I have a beautiful reading voice, but this is,
Part read or the whole thing?
you want the whole thing read?
Or the motion?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Just read it
Yes.
in.
The whole thing. Michael wants the whole thing read, so please.
Okay. Motion made by Terry Baxter, seconded made by Tucker Whitman. Authorization to accept and implement the 2016 CARP grant. Whereas the Cayuga County District Attorney's Office has been awarded renewable grant with the new annual award amount of $100,233 from 1/1/16 to 12/31/16. And whereas the Cayuga County Legislature by resolution number 387-14 previously accepted the CARP grant in 2014 and 2015. And whereas the grant programs require the district attorney to prosecute additional criminal cases involving crimes against revenues. And whereas the district attorney has demonstrated a need for additional legal assistance in handling the increased workload in the district attorney's office. And whereas the Cayuga County Legislature is desirous of providing the district attorney with adequate resources to prosecute various fraud-related crimes in Cayuga County, including public assistant fraud, daycare fraud, Medicaid fraud, welfare fraud, misuse of food stamps, unemployment insurance fraud, workers' compensation fraud, insurance fraud, and various offenses under the tax law. And whereas the grant program requires the district attorney to comply with legal reporting requirements to carry out the terms of the grant program. And whereas the district attorney's office has a 2014 budget revenue account, A11690 State Aid Crimes Against Revenue Program, CARP, / Legislative Appropriations, Heroin. And whereas the district attorney and the Judicial and Public Safety Committee recommend that the Cayuga County Legislature create and authorize the district attorney to accept and implement the CARP grant. And whereas the administrative overhead of the CARP grant be reduced by 30% through a reduction in salary and fringe. Now upon motion and due deliberation, it is hereby resolved that the Cayuga County District Attorney's CARP budget be reduced by 30% through reduction in salary and fringe, and be it further resolved that the Cayuga County Legislature authorize the acceptance and implementation of the 2016 CARP grant, and be it further resolved that the Cayuga County Treasurer be authorized and directed to make necessary journal and accounting entries to accomplish the foregoing, and is further resolved that upon discontinuance or substantial decrease in crimes against revenue program monies as determined by the Judicial and Public Safety Committee set forth in the grant award agreement between the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance, the positions will be abolished. And be it further resolved that the Cayuga County District Attorney shall submit quarterly reports to the Judicial and Public Safety Program detailing its implementation and billing of the CARP grant program.
Okay, So, so to be clear, what we're voting on now is that initial motion, we adjusted that with the word. Sometimes we forget words. Amendment, sorry. So it was adjusted with the amendment, so we're voting now on the motion as amended. So is there any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, the final thing we can do, I didn't think we could act on the DA's, resolution because of the issue of civil service, but our attorney tells me there may be a bit of a workaround.
There may be. I've had an opportunity to speak with Mike Russell, who's present today. The workaround is, if you look at the second resolve in the proposed resolution, it talks about 3 positions, salary reduction for the full-time assistant DA, grant coordinator being reduced to a part-time position, confidential investigator being reduced to a part-time investigator. The budget's attached for your review. Excuse me. So what could be done this evening is amending the third resolve to read as follows: that the Cayuga County Legislature authorize the district attorney to fill these positions to carry out the grant responsibilities in accordance with civil service rules and regulations, semicolon, and be it further. What that permits is the Civil Service Commission to meet next month to consider and approve these positions. And after the Civil Service Commission meets, assuming there's an approval of those positions, and assuming that this resolution passes, then the district attorney is free to fill those positions, those 3 positions, as outlined in this proposal.
Well, and I think if I may ask a question, Mr. Russell?
Yes.
When's the next Civil Service Commission meeting?
Second Wednesday of the month, I think.
Is there a process that they can meet early?
Yes.
Okay.
We can ask for a special.
Yeah, and assuming we pass this resolution, I think the district attorney has done what we felt we needed to do to accept the grant, which is to modify the grant to stay within the $107,000. That requires creating these positions. That's a civil service rule. We have no control over that. But what we can do is ask the Civil Service Commission, I think, to expedite it so that we don't have to wait another month or another 2 weeks. And we can vote on it tonight so that the program can pick up and get going. And I'm sure that would be good. So, okay, and
I would just like to offer the amendment that Fred proposed.
okay, we have a motion, second. Okay, we have 2 seconds. Do we have a third? Okay, so, very good. Is there any discussion on this? Mr. Farrell?
Just a couple questions, just for general knowledge. Last year, we had a grant, and it was $153,000. It's 107, renewable for the next 3 years. Is it a likelihood that the state next year will again reduce the 107? Or do we have pretty good faith that 107 is gonna be constant for 3 years?
The original grants were 151,000, 151,000 total, but yes, this is a 3-year cycle. There are no more applications until 2018. It's renewable for 3 years, and assuming we meet enough of their metric, we meet our goals under the CARP grant, we get it again. We don't have to apply for it again. We just keep submitting our quarterly vouchers, and they keep funding it.
So no surprise in 2017 that they say it's gonna be 85,000.
That's their goal, was to try to give us some budgeting. They reduced it unfortunately, but they gave it for 3 years so that we could plan and sort of structure a program like this.
Yeah, and
The other-
that's exactly what I was told, by the way, with the caveat, it is the state, so, but, yeah, that's their intent.
The other question I have is, in the original proposed budget, you had $17,000 for professional fees. And I saw that last year you did utilize auditors to come in and work on this program. So by cutting the salaries right up into that 107, are you gonna have the funds in your budget to be able to utilize what you're gonna need in that capacity to prosecute?
Hard to tell in advance. We used $600 worth of expert witnesses last year out of that $17,000. $200 above and beyond the grant already built in here. I do have a professional services budget. If we need to, we could do something like that. My guess is it's gonna be some time before I can find personnel to fill this, so I think we're gonna have extra funds at the end of the year regardless.
Okay. Any more questions?
Just a couple technical comments. The document you have in front of you, excuse me. I would request that the two lines, that you know where it says by and it has Mahoonic and Farrell. This has not gone through committee, so that language should be removed. And I would propose removing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th whereas clause, which also talks about this document having gone through committees, because that has not occurred. So just in order to be technically correct, those two items should be removed.
Is that okay with you, motioner and seconder? Okay, great.
Thank you.
I have no objection. The resolutions did go through the committees twice. but
Yeah, the other,
not in this format.
the other one
Right.
did indicate it went through committee. Ms. Foley?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just for technical purposes, I'd like to make sure that there's been some discussion about $35,000 that's already going to be released. I wanted to make sure that we will not be going over budget. It's going to be, this year, it's going to stay within that 107,000. So at the end of the year, there's not going to be coming back and saying, well, I had already used 35,000 in the first 2 months, planning on a larger,
Well, if I may.
more funds, right?
Yeah, if we may, if I could sit down with the district attorney sometime in the next couple of weeks and look and see, look at that issue and some other things, and then we can report back. Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Mr. DeForest?
I'd just like to address the misconception that's lingered into the proceedings of the CART proposals, resolutions, and amendments. I believe I speak for my colleagues when I say no member of the county legislature has ever been against prosecution of crime. We've been tasked with doing as much as we can with the limitations of the budget. We're acutely aware that this requires measures and creative solutions for creating the best services we can afford to provide. This has been the primary concern and consideration of CART. It'll be the primary concern as we address all budgetary concerns. I commend my legislative colleagues for their persistence, cooperation, and patience in negotiating this resolution.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, so thank you. And Mr. Budeman, thank you for sticking with this and getting it done, thank you. Okay. He's got another meeting that started 15 minutes ago. So we do, we do need an executive session. However, before we do that, is there any other business to come before this committee? Mr. Lattimore?
Mr. Chairman, under our people who've passed, I've given one name. I'm gonna just read that into the minutes so that
Very good.
part of the meeting.
We
But,
shall.
also, state of New York has one special law that no other state has. It's called the scaffold law. It was brought in under the Silver administration, and it's been a
Yeah.
very bad piece of legislation. And I'd like to see this body take it up so that we can, it's costing the taxpayers a lot of money for any project that we do, whether we're building bridges or street or roads. It's costing us money to put up with this scaffold law. And I think we should make it imperative that our legal representation take it to Albany and get rid of it.
Okay, so that, I am familiar with it. What committee would you suggest that goes through?
I don't,
I don't know if it's government operations, public works? So if we can take that up in government operations?
Public Works or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's Public Works is probably.
Okay.
a good
Yeah,
thing.
well, we do need, I mean, it's a good, I'm familiar with it, and
I mean,
it
if.
imposes difficult conditions, so, yeah, so let's
I mean,
get that through a
firework-
committee.
We worked on fireworks, which I think is a very important celebration of the 4th of July. But I think that this law really burdens the taxpayers with every project that we do in the state. It's costing tons of money. It's a silver brought it in, and it's gotta go.
Okay. Mr. Farrell?
Motion to go into executive session.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And so we will not have any business when we come out?
We're not gonna talk about how to assemble staff, we're gonna talk about changing the law.
So it's going to government ops, so maybe you ought to do a little research, right? You hear
So
the
Barbara
big-
You wanna
Has
talk
this
about something
part
that's
written
happening,
down.
I can walk
Yeah,
you
it
through it
sounded
on
like
a
he
daily
did.
basis. No, I get told about changing the law
What's your synopsis?
by OSHA, by other people. There is no proper way to assemble scaffolding, there's just less. It's just the way to get the least amount of funds, that's all.
Oh, okay.